Thank you for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you so much for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast. Mariano Alvarez here with Brent LaBrada and a very special guest that we'll be announcing in a second. But first, just want to let you guys know, like always, you can find us online, all major social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as all major podcast platforms by searching Dog Trainers Podcast, and it's all one word, at Dog Trainers Podcast. I want to give a quick shout out to cities that have been showing us love. What up to Boone, North Carolina? I just sent a puppy home named Boone, and I love him to pieces. Columbus, Ohio. I hope I'm saying this one right. Bloxwich, England, and Melbourne in Victoria, Australia. Thank you so much for your support, guys. And with that, over to you, Brent.
What's up, guys? It's Brent with the Dog Trainers Podcast. We are checking in. This is episode, 44 already,
Yeah, 44.
Mario?
Yeah.
We're on episode 44. And those of you guys who follow us on social media, one of our last guests, Russ from Calm Canine Training, as soon as we finished our interview, he said, guys, you guys know who you should check out? And we're like, not at all. Please share us your wisdom. He says, check out this guy named Jonas Black. He goes, you guys will not be disappointed in any way. So needless to say, as we do with a lot of our recommendations, we go down this rabbit hole of social media and the internet and stuff. And we really want to make sure that when we bring people to the podcast, that these are people who are not just, people putting on a facade. We want to make sure they're putting in the work so that they can give you guys expertise, life experiences, information that are going to help you guys along your career paths. And needless to say, guys, we were blown away at the message this guy was giving across, the approach that he was taking, how direct he is, and we're going to have him definitely elaborate more on this throughout the podcast. But I want to introduce to you guys our friend Jonas Black. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. I hope everybody else is doing really well. And let me tell you this much: you guys' backs must be hurting right now because your fucking balls are the size of grapefruits. That's crazy, y'all. Somebody get these boys some back braces because they're real big.
You get used to it after a while,
Yeah, that's why I have to do all those back raises. So those of you guys who know who Jonas Black is, thank you for joining us on the podcast. Those of you guys who don't know who Jonas Black is, you guys can check him out on Instagram. It's at jonas.black. It's JONAS. The color black. And then if those of you guys who are on TikTok, go ahead and follow him. He has a really awesome TikTok approach. His handle is at punkassdogtrainer. You're going to have to explain to us later why you chose that. But let's go ahead and start this podcast the same way we start a lot of our other special guest podcast episodes. Let's talk about, how about you just tell people first what it is that you do, and let's start from there.
So I'm a dog trainer in Austin, Texas. I don't really call myself balanced. I don't really call myself pure positive. I'm just a proper fucking dog trainer.
Okay.
I believe that dog training is an art form, not a science. I think that dog training has really been bastardized, and I've really set forth to expose the propaganda in the industry from both sides, actually. I really dish it out straight. I've pioneered the way in Austin, Texas for balance training in particular. I employ women. And the one thing that I'm the most proud of that I do isn't the dog training. The one thing that I'm actually the most proud of is the fact that I'm breaking the mold in regards to employment in dog training, which is that my dog trainers who work for me, they get a huge commission off every case that they take. They get paid time off. They're allowed to have mental health leave. Like if they need a fucking break, they can take a break. And I let them operate completely autonomously. So I work more as a mentor with them as opposed to a boss. And the amount of success that we've had is just crazy. It's been really, really neat. We've done last year alone, we did close to 1,000 dogs between four.
That's amazing, man.
Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. And between those dogs, are we talking, what is kind of your niche? What is your specialty of dogs?
Me personally, it's behavior mod. Like it's behavior modification. I take the dogs that are supposed to be euthanized. When other trainers, whether it's pure positive or balanced trainers have failed these dogs, I take them in and I believe in training the dog in front of you, meaning that every dog needs a different approach, right? So that's, and again, going back to the art form of dog training, like I feel that too many many trainers are using a paint by numbers approach to this art form, right? It's like, this is black, this
right.
And then everybody produces the exact same painting, but that might not be appeasing to everybody, and it might not be the proper approach. So I believe in training the dog in front of you. I believe in tool usage. I believe in positive reinforcement, as all trainers do. There isn't one. There isn't one good trainer out there that doesn't fucking use positive reinforcement. And like that's like something that people need to start getting into their heads, is that just because you're balanced, which is what most people would group me in with, right? So just for the sake of terminology, let's just say I'm balanced, okay? Like balanced trainers use all 4 quadrants of operant conditioning, and we use classical conditioning as well.
Of course.
Like, we counter condition, we pair we pair different stims with responses. I use counter conditioning in rehabilitation all the time. But at the end of the day, punishment is what changes behavior. That's
True. No, I agree.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. And I still want to hear more before we move on. But that's an interesting take, because Brent and I have kind of had our annoyances with the term balanced dog training as well, because of exactly that reason. We think that there are too many dog trainers, and I'll let Brent speak for himself, but I think there are too many dog trainers who consider themselves balanced, who are just way too heavy-handed or way too cookie cutter dog training. They do the exact same shit with everything all the time. And it definitely can give everybody else a bad rap.
Too many balance trainers are actually compulsion. Like they use compulsion.
Yeah. Right. And I've been there. You know, I started in a Keeler method, and back when I was 18, and it is what it is, man. You learn your limits, and you Michael Ellis put this perfectly. He says, if I could go back and apologize to all the dogs that I learned on, he goes, I wish I could, you know, so
absolutely.
Yeah. And so I completely agree. So that kind of it's that motivation to get better. It's that motivation to, I guess, find closer to the middle. And the funny thing is the concept of balanced dog training, as we've talked about in other podcasts, is it's a moving target. You know, it's never going to be the same for every single dog. And there is a consistent read, and, you know, you might see your approach and your body language, your energy, and just your experience with dogs is very different than, let's say, someone I'm mentoring, right? They can't get the same result in 5 minutes that I can get. And that's just the nature of being a professional and being a dogsmith in that sense.
Finding your own way and finding the things that work for you, because there are so many trainers who use things that I don't use. They get amazing results, right? Like they get fucking fantastic results. It's just not something that I would do, not something that gives me confidence. And that's one of those things that's so important in dog training, is approaching the dog with confidence. So
100%. Yeah. And I think within that variation of tools, and we always bring this question up towards the end of dog training as art, right? This is a theme. Michael Ellis, Tyler Muto, Sean O'Shea, the Canine Performance Team. Did I say Tom Davis? Tom Davis, Canine Performance Team. Everyone has talked about art form. And this is the generation we are in, right? We are in the art form renaissance, the dog training renaissance, if you will, right? Where we are expressing ourselves in a way where, you know, the more people that do it, the more commonsensical it will become, the more people become aware of it.
We're actually in the most modern form of dog training. And that's something that a lot of people don't quite understand. You know, like people on the force-free, pure positive side, they say that they have the most advanced, like everything. That's garbage. That is absolute, because for most people, what they don't understand is that the way that the transitions of dog training went, and I'd like to credit my friend Jackie from Dog Sense, in Australia for this education. It went from or for this message, it went from compulsion, which people were like, oh fuck this, and then they went to a reinforcement pure positive approach, and then that had shortcomings, and then we went to a balanced approach, because we couldn't be formulating the balanced approach without that research done from the pure positive side.
Right.
That's just the thing. Now, is there a lot of hokey pokey studies done? Yes, 100%. The DEFRA study in Lincoln, at the University of Lincoln, was one of the most biased studies in regards to e-collar usage that you'll ever see. But yet they couldn't fucking formulate a clear and decisive picture of villainizing the remote collar, because they could not produce the results that they wanted when they had trainers using the e-collar properly. In fact,
could you do us a favor as an audience? Could you kind of break down, the synopsis of what that study talks about?
Okay, so basically the synopsis of the study is the efficacy of remote collar usage in regards to livestock, right? So in regards to curbing instinctual behavior. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to try to find out, and my buddy James Penrith is way more versed on this than I am. So if anybody wants any more information, please go check out James Penrith, who is a legislative modern day warrior in the UK. Actually want to talk about him a little bit more later, but basically the DEFRA study wanted to show that there's no advantage to remote collar usage in regards to curbing instinctual behavior. And for any dog trainer out there who knows what the fuck they're talking about, that's bullshit.
Right.
So
I just did it 30 minutes ago. So
so here are some of the variables that weren't even discussed publicly in regards to the study. The leading researcher had already signed a petition to ban e-collars, the one putting the study together. Then the researchers underneath them who were actually placing the study together also had signed petitions to ban e-collars. So right away, from the top down, you have a confirmation bias moving throughout that entire study. Now, the preliminary study that they did on it showed the efficacy of remote collar usage on off-leash dogs in regards to curbing a prey drive to be super effective. And get this, no cortisol spike. No cortisol spike because they only used 1 to 2 corrections. So you know what they did? They omitted the preliminary study completely. They said, fuck this. We're not going to replicate this. So in the study, so now,
that's fucking funny.
It gets better. It just continuously gets better. In the study, they have, it was supposed to be a blind study, right? But how do you have a blind study when you have a biased group of observers observing trainers reaching for the remote collar on a dog, which was clearly visible? The environments were supposed to be the same, right? But the positive group was a sunny day in England, and the balance group on a remote collar was on a stormy day in Scotland.
My gosh, that sucks.
Like already the study is just completely
leaning to one side for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And here's the fucked up part. There was no cortisol spike from the remote collar trained dogs, and what ended up happening is that they didn't even proof the positively trained dogs off lead around livestock. They were like, we can't do that because we have to have, get this, a means of stopping them. Like, no shit.
Yeah, well, really?
Sorry, we honestly can't do it.
It's almost as if that's the whole fucking reason you're doing this.
They said it doesn't work in the study. And then what did they say about the dogs on remote collar, right? They said that they were showing distress, like signals of distress, like licking of the mouth.
Right.
Yeah, sure, we're taking their coping strategy away.
Right.
Of course, like when I quit cigarettes, right? And
you have to do something.
And somebody took my coping strategy away. Of course, I stressed the fuck.
Put yourself
out.
on an e-collar.
Yeah,
not that right.
That's what rehab is. Like you're learning a new pattern.
Yes, and so what ended up happening with the entire study is that they said one of the negatives that they found from the remote collar study is that the dog was less engaged with the environment. I was like, you mean dog training? Like,
the dog wasn't lunging at things anymore.
Yeah, like
something's wrong here.
Like the dog wasn't freely exploring and getting kicked in the face by fucking cattle. Like, are you?
Right.
Yeah.
In the conclusion, they couldn't avoid the evidence though. So in the conclusion of the study, they had to put this: negative reinforcement and positive punishment may be supplemental and necessary in regards to curbing instinctual behavior in dogs. But no one talks about that. All they talk about is how the study in its final conclusion said, we don't see a benefit to using remote collar usage. Yeah, you don't see a benefit because you're biased ass motherfuckers.
Well, it's almost as if they said, all right, we already know what the answer is going to be, but we're going to do a study to say that we did a study.
Right.
And we're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot and completely dig a hole for ourselves later. So we're going to say, hey, there's this thing, e-collars, they're okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? But don't fucking use them is ultimately
right.
what it is. It's like, it's Yeah, that sucks.
I noticed the word game too. So like, and I want to let you finish. Do you ever notice the word game and other things? Like, I'm not going to say e-collars are bad. I just don't sell them in my store. It's just not for me. Like shit like that, it's
Right.
it's like one of those, like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. I just don't like you. It's like, okay, well, thanks. That's way better. Cool.
But like that entire study, and the way that they worded it, like dogs less engaged with the environment, as if that is a bad thing.
Well, that's what they were there for, to see if the dogs would be less engaged with the fucking cattle. That was the purpose of this particular study. If it was like dogs less engaged in the environment in a daycare, then maybe I kind of see your point. But that was the whole point, is to have the dog obedient around cattle, which can be dangerous.
Right. And so every other study that's ever been done on the remote collar, the reason why they found a cortisol spike in those studies is because what they would do is they would take an ET300, crank it to
100,
and without conditioning the collar to the dog, just level the fucking dog.
Yeah.
So that right there, sorry, but give me just one sec. So, because that right there, I want to make sure that we're 100% clear about. We've spoken about this before when we did our deeper look into e-collar training. What these people seem to be referring to is the concept of a learned helplessness.
Correct.
Right. And that's always the thing that people fear with e-collar training. Even people who don't know anything about e-collar, that's why they're afraid. They're like, oh, I've heard this story and that story. So we've broken it down before. I just want to give another quick synopsis for people who may be listening, because our audience has grown since then. So learned helplessness is the instance in which, if you're correcting a dog, this does not have to be an electrical collar, can be any method of correction at all, including denying food, because this is something that goes for several different animals. They even have to watch out for this kind of thing with dolphins in SeaWorld when they're like feeding them fish and shit. If you're not clear with what it is that they've done wrong, if you're not marking things appropriately, they don't know how to avoid this correction, then they stress out because they don't know how to avoid making the same mistake in the future. And so they choose not to do anything at all, which is why they fall into learned helplessness.
Exactly. Because they don't know how to win the game. If you don't know how to win the game, if you don't know what a foul shot is, if you don't know that elbows are illegal, if you don't know that you can't fucking double dribble, like you're not going to want to play the game anymore.
Right.
That's exactly right.
And with that being said, I want to bridge that gap back to you, brother, and then let you go back on so when we were talking about, yes, obviously any trainer worth their salt knows the benefit of positive reinforcement work. However, corrections have their place 1000%. So where we all get annoyed, I think, with balanced trainers out there is, in order for you to condition the dog to understand what the rules of the game are, that's where the fun stuff comes in. How are you going to correct a dog for something they don't know? Unless it's something super obvious, like lunging at someone. But if the dog doesn't know how to sit down, you condition it first. Teach the down, teach the sit, teach the recall. Then when the dog knows better, now you're assessing, are you going to do what I asked you to do that you know, or are you not? At that point, your relationship building, that's when corrections come into play. The foundation is everything.
And
you
also
there's the value of compliance. You can raise the value of compliance.
Exactly. Right.
Like without using pain. And this is what I always say is, dog training is getting the dog to value what you want more than what it wants.
Yeah.
And then what it wants from an instinctual standpoint. Behavior modification is learning to understand what the dog needs from you and respecting.
Interesting. I love that. I love that definition. One thing that I have an issue with is also the villainization of stress. Like stress is not a bad thing. Stress is a necessary component of growth. Right. Yes. And there are, when you don't scaffold things properly, sometimes you can put too much stress on a situation, but stress is important for adaptation, for dogs to learn things, for people to learn things. Like, there's no one who's successful that's never been stressed. There's no dog that has never been trained without having to go through. So even in the R+ community, it's like dogs have to go through stress and cycle through a behavior to figure out what needs to happen.
I would go so far as to say it's inevitable. Because if you don't, the difference, I think, the difference between strictly positive, because we were talking, our last episode was with Sarah Bruschi, and she's an amazing trainer. She does sport dog work, and she does pure positive sport dog work
all the way.
And she's solid, but she's realistic, and she understands the value of tools. She does sports stuff. Every other person on the field does balance training, even like her helpers and stuff like that. Like she gets it. It was more just like a personal journey, which is cool. That's respectable, right? And her dogs do well. My point being, and she was really upfront about this too. And if you're listening, I would think, she would agree. You can, like, a balanced trainer, regardless of all the nonsense that other people say about balance training, you have to stress the dog because any sort of change at all is going to be stressful by the very nature of what a mammal is.
I agree.
You know, like a kid going to preschool, no one's correcting them, but it's just new, and nobody likes new things. The difference is the whole purpose of stress and the whole purpose of scaffolding, to give Brent's point like a little extra kind of backup, is the whole reason these things exist, kind of like school, is you're going to have to stress because that's you evolving. However, how can we stress you just enough that it's beneficial to it's conducive to change, but it's not going to like knock you on your ass and be counterproductive.
Right.
Now,
the avoidance of stress is going to teach the inability to cope with stress.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting at was, or you can do a lot of times the pure positive stuff is like, I stress the dog as little as I possibly can, but then the real world stresses the shit out of the dogs. They don't know what to do. So it's not like you can avoid stress without corrections.
Right. And always, we know the hardest part in training is the distraction work, which is the stressful stuff.
Right.
It's the patience stuff. It's the FOMO and with that dogs suffer from. It's all these different things.
I love the term FOMO.
Yeah. FOMO, the fear of missing out, right?
You're missing out.
You're like, what'd you call me? Anyways.
It's cool. The shit that I get called every day. You're
a FOMO. You're a fear of missing outer. Anyways, I wanted to go back in. I think we could shoot the shit on dog training all day. Let's go in, because I know the people who follow you, they're jumping on this podcast. They want to hear your story. And the people who don't, I think they're going to benefit from your story. Every guest that we have on, we want to know who you were before dog training. We want to know the path that got you here. So if this was a superhero origin story, give us the deets. Tell us how you got to where you are now.
If this is more
in the long form, not the short form.
This is more like a villain origin story.
Sure.
Like it's like the Joker origin story.
You're like the Deadpool.
Deadpool. So that's where I was going next. Like, people on TikTok have called me the Deadpool of dog training, right? Mm-hmm. And like,
that's cool.
I love that. I love that so much. So I was born into dog training, basically. My grandfather was a dog trainer. And so I learned from a very young age on golden retrievers and Belgian Malinois.
Cool.
And then I got
two extremes.
I know, right?
100%, but all working line though. All working.
Oh, okay.
And then basically what ended up happening is that my family moved to the United States, and I developed a really bad stutter. And I was socially rejected because I was speaking German, and like it was just like, pointless minutia there. But I started working at a zoo, and at the Alameda Park Zoo under Steve Deal, who's a wolf conservationist and coyote behavioral expert. And at a very young age, I was about 10 years old, and then I worked there for years and years and years, and got my studying in for with canids born in captivity, right? And I started applying dog training methods. I mean, I just made an accountability post on Facebook where I was like, "Mom, did this happen?" Because people were like, "He never worked with wolves and coyotes,and I was like, "Okay, let's bring my mom into it." And like,
I love it.
And like, Mama Black don't lie, I tell you that. And so she validated, and I taught those coyotes recall, like they came up to the fence. I learned about wolf behavior, all that shit. Then I got into rescue, and I learned about pure positive dog training. And at first I was like, this seems to be a bunch of crock of hoobly-gawk Fantasia shit, but I saw some shit work. And one of the people was actually an apprentice to Karen Pryor, who taught me, pure positive applications. And that's why when people go, "Oh, I used to be a pure positive trainer." Well, what are your certifications? I don't have any credentials in pure positive dog training. All I know is that the person who taught me studied directly under your God.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and even she was like, "This won't work on every dog." Like,
right.
Well, you know, and while I tried to stay as positive as possible, I got into dog rescued a bunch of dogs in my time. And I'm one of the trainers in this world who put their time in the field. I didn't go to dog training school. I learned like a chef learns. I started as a fucking dishwasher and worked my way to an executive chef. Yep. And like, am I against dog training school? No. But like the way that I learned, it gives you that real world experience of sleeping in kennels with dogs covered in shit and piss, trying to figure them out. So you value your craft a lot more.
Yep.
Right.
Like pulling a dog that's going to get put to sleep unless you fix it. And then that dog has latched onto your shin and you have no idea what to do because you're 18 years old and you're just like, I got this pit bull latched onto my shin and I don't know what the fuck to do. I have to figure it out. it's invaluable experience. It is invaluable experience. And that's why the trainers that come out of my program who work for me, they spend 6 months to a year without ever even touching a leash, you know, like they have to cultivate their knowledge. And so my journey led me to be homeless in Austin, Texas. And that was after my band's van broke down in Austin. I went back home to Tucson. I grabbed a pair of jeans. I grabbed a shirt. I got into my 1999 Honda Accord where the window didn't roll up, and I drove back to Austin, Texas, and I slept in the parking lot of Joe's Crab Shack.
You're from fucking Tucson?
Tucson, yeah.
And, no way. Is your family still down here in Tucson?
Yeah. They live over on Grant and Silverbow.
Oh, nice. I'm here in Phoenix.
And then I just doxed my fucking family.
I know. Yeah. Well, the next time you're in town, let me know. We'll hang out for sure.
Oh, bro, let's do it, man. Let's do a seminar. My demand out there is crazy.
Let's do it. For sure. Continue.
Yeah. So like, I rode back out to Austin, and then from there, I just fucking started betting people that I could leash train their dog.
You're like, bet.
And I would bet them $100 at the lake. And people were like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, it's just leash pressure. You know, it wasn't even prong relying. It was just collar relying and leash pressure relying. Any trainer worth their weight in fucking verbals can fucking like train a dog to walk on leash with any buckle and with any leash. Or with any collar and any leash. And so, you know, the legend of the homeless dog trainer spread. And I got an apartment with my best friend. I started bartending, driving Uber, building my business, and, you know, got into fitness. And alongside fitness, the business grew. And, you know, 7 years later, we are $1 million business. And
excellent.
We are all 5-star Yelp review business. We are the go-tos in Austin, Texas. And I do seminars all over the country. People fly me all over the country. I just got back from Virginia where we worked with 3 pitties, and like, it was awesome. And, you know, it's really, it's been the most humbling experience of my life, because I never thought that for a second that somebody like me, I mean, who's just been a punk ass his whole life, being in punk rock, grew up in the DIY culture and things like that, that I could make it in an industry that requires people to believe that you are authentic and loving, and people actually get that from me, that I am authentic and loving because of my passion and because of my. But it comes across as angry sometimes, but it's not anger. It is just the passion, and it's frustration, because what I want to get across to people is that you don't need to hire me. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than you fucking think it is. Yeah. And like, in just dog training, keep your dog on a leash, place train your dog, crate train your dog. Don't give that dog freedom. From the time the dog's a puppy, you'll never have a fucking problem.
True. Yeah. It's like stage by stage fundamentals. If you just did them, if you could just put in, you know, 45 minutes a day, like cumulatively, not even at the same time, like
your lifestyle. Just your lifestyle. Use the leash to communicate with your dog from day one, right? Yeah. Or like Larry Crone just made an incredible post, and something that I've always advocated for is when the dog is in a puppy stage and it's like needy and it's looking for you and it's not going to run away from you, keep that dog off leash in a safe area with you and cultivate that off leash behavior from a very young age. And then inside, put the leash on. I know it seems counterintuitive. Inside should be calm, outside should be play, right? Like, that's the way it should be.
Right. 100%. No, I love those. I love those.
Here's a question for you, buddy. So as we go through your story, tell us a little bit about who your mentors are, because of course, from a dog training perspective, so your grandpa was a dog trainer. So I'm sure to a large degree, he played a big role in like shaping you, but just as a person, and we're definitely want to get into your online presence and why you kind of took the route that you did with how you come off online. Talk to us about any other mentors, even if they're not necessarily in the dog training world. Just who do you look up to?
There's a gentleman by the name of Chad Williams here in Austin, Texas. He's a former Special Forces pararescue PJ from the Air Force.
I was gonna say I was Air Force too. Go ahead.
So my dad was Air Force. He was helicopter maintenance in rescue.
Oh, sweet.
And so like he was with the 45th, the Jolly Green.
Okay.
And so like he definitely believed in me. My mom and dad are huge mentors of mine. But in dog training in particular, the trainer who believed in me more than anybody, and you guys should check him out, is Danny Wells from Unleashed Canine Services in the UK. He's the top trainer there. He's so good at what he does. He does bite work, protection work, but also does pet rehabilitation. And he's just a master. He's just a master at what he does. Not that any of us can ever be masters in this craft. I mean, it's always learning, but Danny's amazing. And Danny actually helped shape me. And he was like, bro, I want to fuck with you, but I can't fuck with you in dog training unless I see some before and afters. Right. So Danny challenged me from a very, very early stage in my professional career where he was like, I need to start seeing some before and afters. And from that day forward, I videoed everything, which is why I have so much content, because I have content from the last 6 years of my journey in dog training where you can literally tell where when I broke out of the pure positive mindset, I was a little too heavy sometimes with dogs, right? And then
the pendulum always swings.
Yes,
the pendulum always swings.
You can see the growth in my journey, and like it's fascinating to myself to be able to go back and with a critical eye be like, I would not like that today.
Today, yeah.
You know, and I just love that I have the before and afters, but it also shows me that before and afters can come from very many approaches because I've used a lot of approaches.
Right.
From Larry Crone, from Tyler Muto, who's a hobby of mine. Like, I love Tyler.
He's dope. He's dope. I just texted him this today. I love that guy.
Tyler's baby Buddha, and like,
yeah, man, he answers all your questions. Anything, he's dope.
He's just one of the patron saints. You know what I mean? Like he's so good, and he's a homie that I'll always throw it back to. Like, I know we got some gatekeepers in this industry.
Right.
It's my goal to break the wheel on the gatekeepers because fuck the gatekeepers.
Right.
But Tyler is one of those trainers because he stays so in his own lane and he does his own thing and he's so just like so zen that whenever you get an approval from Tyler Muto, it means the fucking world because he doesn't think the world of him and of himself. Right. And when I was coming out of my pure positive shell, his videos on YouTube, they just blew my mind. Like, blew my mind. And then here in Austin, I started to apprentice because I was very anti-e-collar until like 5 years ago. Truly. I was using prongs and slips, and I thought you never would need to use an e-collar. And then here in Austin, Texas, I apprenticed under somebody who uses e-collars. And the reason why I don't name names is because of my controversial presence. I don't want to get anybody like in trouble for being associated with me, because there are a lot of big names who you guys have already mentioned that have told me we love you, but you bring too much bullshit to the table. And it has nothing to do with the balance side. It has to do with the fact that I troll the pure positive side. And like, they don't want to get doxxed. I just got doxxed on TikTok. Some dude exposed my address, you know, like, and like, it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, can you not be witty and show me results with dog training? No, you can't, because you deflected into a bully.
Tell you what, a crazy thing. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I've told a lot of our big guests, which is, and I get it, by the way. So, you know, so don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah.
We've had on from Tyler Muto to Tommy Davis to Michael Ellis, Sean O'Shea. We haven't had him on yet, but we're talking to Jeff Gelman, and all of them without fail. I mean, everybody has haters, of course, but all of them are huge online presences in the world of dog training. And all of them, when we initially reached out, like, they obviously were interested, but they were all like, I don't know though, because lately I've just been getting so much shit. Like, you know, they were getting to that point where it wears you down. And I'm like, so what I'm getting at is, I'm not surprised, because there's always those YouTube dog trainers, quote unquote, like there is for everything, right? YouTube is the place of people who know everything. Sure. But what really amazed me was like, wow, you guys are actually getting worn down. Because obviously the response is overwhelmingly good. Look at your business, look at your reviews, look at everything else. But it is fascinating that sometimes people find that little chink in the armor and it gets to you.
It happened to me last year. And so for those of you who don't know, like, my online presence is fucking huge. Like, it's 500,000 on fucking TikTok. Like, anywhere I go, I can get work, you know? And it happened to me last year. I was getting attacked by an old, like, compulsion based trainer. And then I was getting attacked by the pure positive side. They were showing up at my house here in Austin trying to take my dogs.
What?
Whoa.
I've been through the ringer, y'all, but my 9mm deterred.
I was gonna say, I was like,
so yeah, they found the chink in my armor last year, and that's when I was going through relationship issues, and personal life stuff, and everything just started to like pile on me. And this one guy was like, he's just a social media dog trainer. He never put in his time. He doesn't know my fucking backstory.
Yeah.
And then he started bullying me, and then he was like, just come talk to me. I want to mentor you. And I was like, I don't want to fucking mentor you. Are you fucking joking? Like,
what a silly guy.
Yeah,
Wow.
like you're bullying me the entire time. And then we have people show up at like in front of my house. I just lost my relationship. So I was like, you know what? I need to get my mental health straight. And I'm very open about this. So like I got offline for 6 months. I was like, all right, let's see if I'm a social media dog trainer. Let's see if my business gets hit because I'm offline. Right. No, we were up 200% last year during COVID. Right. And like it could, because our word of mouth is so good. So, to everybody out there, pure positive side, why is our word of mouth so good if I'm just abusing animals all day long?
Right.
Like our word of mouth wouldn't be that good if we were abusing animals, right?
Right.
So I got back online, and everybody was just like, fuck yeah, he's back. And because of my absence, I created some kind of demand and value, because there are big names in the dog training industry. I'm a big name for dog owners. And that's the way that I've always marketed myself, is fuck the industry. I don't care about you. Like, I respect Michael Ellis. I respect all these trainers a lot, but your approval is not the fucking golden ticket to me going to sleep at night.
Right.
Like the golden ticket for me going to sleep at night is knowing that my clients and their dogs have a better relationship than before they started working with me.
Right.
That's the golden ticket. And that's what I came back with that message. I actually toned it down because I was way more like over the top last year. I toned it down on the online presence, and the response has just been crazy. Right now, I'll venture to say that I'm the most talked about dog trainer online just because of my TikTok explosion.
Yep. Yeah, and I said this on so you posted in anticipation of this interview, you posted something online of what I told you over Instagram, which was, you are a warrior of this industry, right? And one thing we asked you before the episode started was, okay, like, why do you choose this approach? Why are you approaching it this way? Why not be passive? Why not be political? Why not do that? And you had a really awesome answer that I think the people should hear.
So I'll go a little bit more in depth than what we talked about.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
And so, being a keen observer of behavior and the resulting and the results of a behavior, the balance side has solely relied on results. Right? We have solely relied on showing people, hey, look, they said this dog needs to die. Hey, look, this dog is fucking licking peanut butter like off my hand, not biting. The dog's not resource guarding. The dog is not actually aggressive. The dog just had a coping strategy, which was undesirable in society, right?
Right.
So here's my question to everybody. If our classy approach, which is an approach, let's say like somebody like Larry Crone takes, right? I respect Larry.
Like proof is in the pudding kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like he's one of the best of us, right? Proof is in the pudding. Why are there legislations still attempting to be passed in last year in Hawaii, SB 866 or something like that? Why the fuck, if we have the results and that's supposed to carry us, why the fuck are these legislations still being presented? Why? Why? Because the other side is more aggressive. The other side is more aggressive. True. Why do I take this approach? Because I fight not for a methodology. I fight for fucking dogs, man. Like, because I come from both sides. I used to be a pure positive guy, and the dogs that I fucked up, I've gone back and fixed for free. I'll give you client referrals because of it, because there's only so far that counter conditioning will work. And yes, if you get a false positive in regards to leash reactivity because of counter conditioning, that's actually so somebody put, I counter conditioned my dog off of leash reactivity. But here's the thing, if you know what counter conditioning is, it's classical conditioning, pairing a stimulus with a response, right? That would mean that you would need to click and give food every time the dog looked at another dog, right?
Right.
The dog wasn't looking at the person after it looked at the dog. The dog was just on leash and having been desensitized over a long period of time. It had nothing to do with counter conditioning. And now people who listen to this are going to be like, oh, fuck, punk ass knows science. Yeah, punk ass knows science. Like, yes, punk ass knows science, and punk ass knows the way that it's supposed to fucking look, because I've used it. So like, why I choose the approach, the sensational approach, because it's for people. It's not to appease the dog training industry. It's not to be like, jerk my dick, like, see how fucking big my dog training cock is. It's no, pay attention to me. And then people will, here's the average response to me. Fuck that guy. But then they can't stop watching. Like they go, God, this dude's just fucking, I cannot stand him. And they hate me so bad.
You know, that is interesting.
That's the villain side,
people do
right?
love to hate watch stuff. That is true.
Yeah.
Yes. And then what they do is they'll flip through my TikTok, and then all of a sudden they see Moody, the pit bull that was supposed to be euthanized, recommendation from 2 veterinarian behaviorists, 3 peer positive trainers, and a compulsive e-collar trainer, right? And then all of a sudden they see me with the dog, and they're like, what the fuck? This guy actually knows what he's doing. And then they flip through, they see a couple more troll videos, and then they see it, and they go, oh my God, there's Gus. Oh my God, there's Fritz. Oh my God, there's Acer. Oh my God, there's Adonis. The list goes on and on and on. And here's the thing. They see the before and afters. And then what they do is they go, maybe there's something to this guy. And then they start to see the passion. They go, oh, this guy backs up what he fucking says. He's not just talking shit. And then people go, oh, my favorite recently has been this. I told somebody on the TikTok, I said, I verbally skull fucked you, homie. Like I said, yes. I said, I verbally skull fucked you, and I showed a result. He turned around and he was like, wow, that's talk from a potential rapist and a misogynist.
Oh, wow.
Completely deflected off of what I said.
Wow.
I understand that's not the most tactful approach.
Yeah.
I'm not the most tactful human being. I'm everybody. Like I get it. And then I just shot back with, well, how do you feel that I pay 35% above the average wage that women get paid in the dog training industry? How do you feel about me trying to expose the fact that in the sports dog world, most ladies, including most ladies who train for me, can't even get into a fucking seminar without getting sent a dick pic if they're attractive. Like there's an entire culture in the dog training world that needs to be exposed, and it starts with I'll name it, Joris Jerkoff, who said the N-word. Who said the N-word? I exposed that too.
I saw that. Yep.
Like that can't fly, because here's the thing, balance trainers, you have a responsibility to represent our craft with some sort of class. If you want, like, trust me, I'm handling the non-classy approach. Y'all, like, I'm doing it for you. Y'all keep classy. Classy. Don't take the approach that I take. And I just want to really tell that to people. Don't take the approach that I take. You don't have the skin for it.
Yep.
Like I had a rough life growing up. I've been through a lot of shit. My skin is thick. I can handle this. I grew up at Scrappy's in Tucson. I grew up downtown. Like I went to grill at night to smoke cigarettes and do cocaine. Like when I was younger. Legitimately, I grew up in hardcore punk. I fought every day. Do not think that you can handle the fight that I handle.
Yeah, so, don't romanticize this. This is an authentic approach that you take.
Yes, like this isn't like a martyr complex. This is the only way I know how to be.
Yeah.
This is the only way that I know how to be.
Yeah.
So,
and that's something that I want to talk about, because we talked about this as well. It's like we all have different approaches trying to get this message across, right? It's the same. It's not identical 100%, but the idea is we're doing it for the dogs. We're trying to save dogs' lives. How are we going to save dogs' lives if we make dog training more digestible, right? And we talked about, my approach has always been more political. Like, I want to hear your side. I want to hear your side. Great. Now that you both understand me, I'm going to understand you guys, and then let me drop a little bit of what I have to offer on both of you, right? Doesn't matter. And so maybe it's because I'm a Libra, maybe it's whatever it is, but my approach has always been more diplomatic in that sense. And, people like you who have the skin, who have the approach, who have the balls, who also have the science. And most importantly, if you guys have been listening, if you guys haven't picked up on how self-aware this man is, right? And he's not just doing this out of a reaction. He knows exactly, what people think, what people are saying, what they potentially could say. The 15, it's kind of like Doctor Strange in Endgames, where he's just like, there's 1,100 million, you're thinking several steps ahead of how a result could be. And he's still choosing the path, because
like, I'm so strategized. it's to the point, because I've studied not just behavior in Canis lupus familiaris, but like overall, I've studied psychology. Like there was a guy who was trying to call me out. So I was like, cool, if you want to talk shit, you can't talk shit unless your dog can recall off of a distraction into a heel. Don't talk shit to me at that point.
And come and finish. Yeah.
like there are a lot of dog trainers who can't do that. So he tried to replicate it. And he called his dog out of a sit stay
already focused
like, into a recall, and then stopped the dog with body pressure. And I knew that was going to happen, so I just was able to expose him. But the original video was just to provoke him into that type of response. So if here is the golden ticket to not getting fucked with me. Don't post stupid shit. Don't post stupid shit. I won't come for you. But if I do come for you, I always offer this: a free apprenticeship for 1 week where I'll cover your entire travel, room, and board in Austin, Texas, to come work with me and my trainers, because I'm not about to present a problem if I cannot present a solution.
Right.
So if you if I call you out and it looks like I'm bullying, it has nothing to do with me bullying. It has to do with me trying to make you self-aware of your lack of actual knowledge, especially in regards to context and dog training. Now come to me for 1 week. You don't want to use e-collars? You don't want to use prongs? Fine, let's use a slip leash. We can come learn, come see what I do. That's all I want you to do. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this. I want to hear you talk about, I thought it was interesting too, how calculated of an approach, and calculated doesn't mean it's not authentic and who you are, but you're just aware of the process and you're using the tools that you have at your disposal, right? The understandings you have of psychology with people and dogs.
Absolutely.
With that being said, I want to hear about when you're working with a dog, and then someone's got their their 2 cents, and you talk back about it, or even in general, somebody looks up your stuff and it's like, people get annoyed. I think people are just not used to tough love, and people conflate, I think, passion with like, oh, this guy's a dick, or he's angry, or he's something that's negative, right? Like energy automatically becomes a negative when it's too much for them in the moment anyway. And I think kind of the cool thing about the internet is they look at it and it's too much, and they turn it off and they're like, oh my God, fuck that guy. But then maybe later, if it's in their head, they'll watch it. And because it's been in their head, they've kind of prepped themselves for it. And now it's like the appropriate amount. It's like when your phone goes off in the 2:30 in the morning, it's way too loud.
They always remember me.
Right.
They always.
Well, I think that they desensitize themselves. It's like, for me, it's like if I get up early and I look at my phone, it's like the brightest thing in the world. But if I look at it in the center of the day, it's like not bright enough. And it's just everything around it has made it conducive to like, oh, I'm ready for you. I'm expecting this now. So I think it hits them hard. They look back later and then they're like, oh, this, I get it in my own way. But I find it fascinating because, again, dog training aside, like, Brent was talking about Gary Vee and stuff like that. There is a legitimate purpose behind people who drive that hard kind of message. Like a guy that I like is David Goggins.
Sure.
And I do think that you're correct. For every person who's willing to play kind of like the middle ground, which I guess I'd put myself in that group too. I just kind of keep it like, if this is how I feel about it, it's how I feel about it.
If you ever get attacked, though, I'm coming to get your back.
Oh no, I appreciate it and everything, but I'll tell you what, I really don't like. I'm not really one to fold either, and that's why we were excited to have you on, man. It's like there's no fucking way more people aren't talking to you, and if it's for like a reason regarding their business, it's like, all right, fine. But the whole point of the Dog Trainers podcast is like, no, if you're out there, if you're fighting, I really don't care what your response is. Like, I really don't care if people hate you. I really don't care. You guys can hate us. It's all good. But with that being said, what you can't say is that we don't open the conversation.
Correct.
We don't give the people space to say what they're saying. And like you were talking about, this is just meant to be a place to learn. Sometimes lessons are not that fun to learn.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they're not valuable. So I just wanted to hear you riff a little more about what exactly was that thought process of like, you know what, I'm going to approach it this way.
So what sparked it initially was, so people would look at me and be like, why do you go after these people? They didn't mention your name specifically. Okay, they might not have mentioned my name specifically, but they said remote and prong collar usage automatically qualify as a prerequisite for me being an abuser. So there's two. I just told this story on my TikTok live and I broke out in tears. But I'll tell you why I am the way I am. First and foremost. So like in Austin, Texas, a rescue that I worked with pulled a little pity bitch, and she had she passed temperament, everything. I went and evaluated her. The foster kept her behind a baby gate because she was afraid that the dog would go after other dogs. She fostered a pit bull and was afraid of a pit bull bully mix, Amstaff mix, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Because somebody listening is good. Pit bull is not a breed. It is a breed. It's the American Pit Bull Terrier. It's
right. It's in the
wait,
AKC.
what people say that? People say
yeah. I've heard that before. Yeah.
Oh my God. I've never. Okay.
I've heard that before.
But it exists. I'm sure it exists.
No, it's an official registered breed with the AKC. It exists.
I know. No. I'm saying people say that it's not a breed.
No, people say that it is not. That is an argument that I've heard before too. Like that's out there. Yeah. That's true.
I mean, people all say the earth is flat. But let's move on.
That's true.
So like, I'm not sure if you saw my TikTok video on flat Earth science comparing it to.
No, I didn't.
So I ended that video with, pure positive dog training will work on the flat Earth. I'll see y'all on the flat Earth.
Right.
Like, I'll post it on Instagram later for you guys. So
that's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So a rescue that I still work with, but I can't mention their names because I'm their dirty little secret because they want to keep the pure positive fucking shit going. Like, where they get to help dogs.
Yeah.
Y'all feel me. And
so,
you're that guy. You're that guy.
More than you know, I think. Yeah. Continue.
I'm that guy. And I'm also that guy for other dog trainers. You know, I'm that guy, like the dirty little secret. And so basically, they pulled a little pity bitch who was just fucking amazing. Had her around my dogs. Everything was good. Like no big deal. Like she was great. Kept her behind a baby gate in the kitchen. Had the other dogs free roam on the other side of the baby gate. What do we know about that? Barrier frustration is going to fucking happen there. One day that she busted through the baby gate, and what happens? Goes into drive. Good night. Good night. She went and just tore dogs apart. And I went over. We worked with her. We got her to be okay with the other dogs through a place command protocol. All those things taught her not heavy punishment. I recommended that we build a coexistent environment like between the dogs that they're created next to one another.
Right.
All those really quintessential foundational things for pack reintegration that a lot of people don't. A lot of trainers don't even fucking know about it. Trainers out there, if you want to reintegrate a pack, it's a long-term process. You need forward walking, structured walks, place command, no free roam, sleep in the crate next to each other,
eat next to each other, do all that stuff.
That's the one. I think cohabitation is a huge one before you integrate the dogs together. That's something we're working with.
You don't get engaged to someone unless you can coexist with them.
Right. Well, and floodlighting is a real thing.
Yes.
So the dogs, they come off too strong for whatever reason.
Especially a little bully. You know what I mean? Like they're tenacious as hell, and I love them.
Right.
So what ended up happening is that I went back over there. I got her to be great, right? Like we got the protocol, 2 weeks good. I said 6 months of this protocol, minimum 6 months, because she was unsure. Like the handler, the foster was unsure. 6 months. She didn't follow through on the protocol. Put the dog back behind a baby gate, which was a terrible idea. The dog burst through the baby gate at night.
Okay.
And the same shit happened. Didn't kill any other dogs, just blood everywhere from her also.
Right.
And she ended up calling the rescue that same night and said, "Get this fucking dog out of here." That rescue tried to call me. I was asleep. It was in the middle of the night. And they ended up getting a hold of a boarding facility owner who owns a boarding facility and pure positive dog training, a dog training company. So they pulled her, threw her to the facility, and the next day I heard the voicemail and I was like, "Where is she? Let me get this dog." Like, because I had bonded with her. This was a good dog, man. And I just gave away the spoiler alert was, so it,
it's all right, man.
I
get you.
I called the facility and I was like, "Yo, man, let me pick a beat." And they called me an abuser, and they said that my usage of tools does not qualify me to allow them to give me the dog. And I was like, "All right, just please, like, you know, fucking take care of my girl, right? Like she has some issues that were conditioned through environment. That please take care of my girl." I get a call from the rescue a day later. "Hey, they tried to integrate the dog
the fuck?
their daycare program, into the daycare program, and they tried to introduce through Babygate.
Of course, because why not?
So when they opened that Babygate, what do you think happened? She lost her shit.
Right.
She lost her shit. So I roll up to the facility, and I mean, this is just the type of person I am, but like, I'm ready to smash windows. Like, I'm just like, give me my fucking girl. Like, give me my girl. This is like, and they said, no, you cannot have her. She is a threat to society. She will be euthanized today. As the veterinarian who I work with pulls up and looks at me and says, Jonas, I don't know what the hell to do right now. And I was like, doctor, please don't fucking euthanize this dog. And she's like, I have no choice. So the doctor was able to negotiate a deal to where I was at least allowed to hold my girl while she fucking euthanized her, because, and that dog, I swear, and I know that other dog trainers are going to be like, I'm anthropomorphic here. That dog knew what was happening, because that dog tried to bite every motherfucker in that fucking space who was trying to hold her down, except me. So she trusted me enough to fucking hold her while they stuck the fucking needle in her. What was I supposed to do? They wouldn't give her to me, right? Yeah. So people want to know why the fuck I am the way I am and why I go after these motherfuckers. Because until you've held a dog in your fucking arms that you knew should not have died, you don't fucking know. And that's my message to you dickheads on the other side. I don't care how you fucking train, but don't sentence a dog to fucking death just because you choose death before discomfort.
Yep.
That's why I am the way I am.
Yep.
And when people hear that story, they normally go, ooh, shit.
Yep.
But my dedication to my dogs that I work with, I'm shaking. Like,
you're good, man.
Like,
dude.
I get you. Like that shit. That's why I am the way I am. You want an origin story? You want the origin of the villain story? There you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
This is something I told a couple dog trainers that we've had meetings with. There are those inciting incidences in our lives that have either sparked the passion, they keep refueling the passion, they keep and I would actually, one of the ideas that I have and a lot of people have signed up to do it, is I would love to get that origin story like broken down, like as a little 2-minute snippet of like, when I was 6, this happened, when I was 8, this happened, and blah, blah, blah. Because I think there's a lot of us who are suffering, like,
yeah.
I remember, when I was 9 years old. So I know exactly why I'm a dog trainer. Yeah. I get you. Well, I really appreciate your vulnerability, man. And being, you have to be, to be.
It's necessary. It's part of the authenticity. There's the hard ass side, but there's also I have a huge heart, like, and that shit's been taken advantage of my whole fucking life. Mm-hmm. But it's also gotten me to where I am. So like, y'all, like, if people want to know the truth, that's the fucking truth. And yeah, that's an experience in which I learned that was a singular, in psychology we call it a singular learning experience that was enough for me to turn into what I am today, and fight for the dogs and to fight against the other side, because not enough of us are fighting against the other side.
Right. We're just trying to coexist, peacefully. Yeah,
right. And it's time, like, y'all, if you're listening, it's time to push back. And like, if you don't want to push back with me, there are many other people who are pushing back, and push back with your clients, with your dog owners. There are rescues that are starting to push back. Repos Rescues out of Michigan is starting to push back. It is time to push back, not for us, but for dogs. And if you guys want, I'll take all the arrows. You guys will come out unscathed. I'll sink my business.
Yeah, I don't think you have
listen, man. Listen, man. Like we told you before, and like we've told everybody else before. Our podcast is our podcast.
Yes.
We don't really care. I guess and again, I'll speak for myself. I personally, if we are having genuine, helpful, insightful conversation, I really don't care if the person listening is like offended by it, I guess, if that's the term or not.
Absolutely.
This is a dog trainer who obviously cares about dogs, who knows his shit, who was telling us a very vulnerable story. I really don't care if you don't like his TikTok. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to speak with him because this is my fucking podcast. If you don't want to talk to him, make a podcast and then make it a point to email him and say, you can't come. But I really don't give a shit though. but reasons exactly like this. I've heard Brent's story, and I know your story, and I know the pain that drives these trainers to do better, and I get it. And that's why, like, to me, honestly, nothing upsets me more, not than these stories. And I don't want this to sound wrong.
Sure.
What upsets me the most is that people feel the need to hold off on these stories. Like, why? Nobody, I really don't care how marketable Pure Positive is. I really don't. And I know it's beneficial. Obviously, I love Pure Positive training, or I love positive reinforcement training anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a balance trainer too, myself. I'm an e-collar guy. I'm a prong collar guy. But I'm also a food guy, and I'm also a toy guy and a play guy. Like, don't get me wrong. Pure Positive, all that good stuff. The craziness, though, is you're talking about pushing back, and you're talking about the other side is more organizing and aggressive, and I would argue effective, maybe because they're more organized and aggressive.
Way more effective.
However, they are starting to push back as well, meaning Sarah Brewski, the Pure Positive sport trainer, who's awesome. She was annoyed at other Pure Positive trainers for not having exactly this type of conversation that we're having right now. She was like, how come all the podcasts for dog training are balance trainers? Why are they all the ones who are inviting Pure Positive? Like, where the fuck are we at?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought that was awesome, because it's like, you know what? You're right. And it's fine. And I think that there is like a time and place to kind of like take that high ground, I guess you could say. But also at the same time, it's like, if you keep slapping me in the face, how long am I just supposed to stand there? I don't get it.
And so you're absolutely right. And I just want to clarify on something. I have featured positive force-free trainers on my TikTok platform who I really like. There's an account called Training Hana. He's awesome. Like, there's an evolved evolved dog training out of Oklahoma. He's great. Like, I learned stuff from him. Like, he there are techniques. I'm always wanting to put more shit in my toolbox, man, and like, and I demonstrated with a reactive Anatolian chow chow mix that I was able to use play to completely eliminate leash reactivity when I got challenged by a Pure Positive trainer to be like, show your application of positive reinforcement. I was like, cool, then I'm going to reinforce play drive, because I know how to fucking work drive and create far more interest through the game of tug. And it's up on my Instagram if you guys want to look at it. Like, we just reward after every pass. It was super effective. That's what they're doing now. Like, the applications of these things are effective in certain cases. The dog was completely unresponsive to a prong collar because they had desensitized it.
Right.
So if you don't know what to do in those situations, you're not a dog trainer. You need to go back to square one and understand that there are other approaches that you can use. So however, why I believe in the balanced approach and tool usage, why I believe in it first and foremost. If it were up to me, every dog that comes out of my program would be on flat buckle and just a regular leash. But the thing is that I put my ego aside and look at my client's needs first and foremost.
Yep. Exactly.
Because the average dog owner is not a fucking dog trainer.
Yep. You know who made that point to us?
Who's that?
Michael Ellis.
Oh,
and Michael, no, I'm not saying, but my point is great.
But it's a reoccurring theme. Yeah.
Right. It's a reoccurring theme among a lot of the bigger dog trainers. So it's for that reason, the ego thing. It's like, listen, can fucking Zach George train that like reactive dog with food? Possibly, maybe.
No, he can't.
But, okay. Okay.
That's a separate podcast.
Let's pretend for the sake of whatever that he can. There's a guy who me and Brent have seen before who he loves nothing more than just smash balance trainers, and I won't name him just because I don't.
He's retired now.
Yeah, I don't want to give him the clout, even if he was. But nonetheless, so this guy loves nothing more than to like, he'll play your video and then pause it and then explain why you suck, pretty much. Okay. The difference is, even if this person could do it, possible. I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah.
Can you realistically expect the owner to do it, or are you just living in like some fake, fairy tale world where? Great. I'm glad that you're just so amazing that you can work this with food. Yeah. The owner is like 72 and she's got arthritis in her fingers.
Yeah.
Tell me what your plan is. So Michael Ellis was making the point, like, listen, it's about the dog and the owner and the dynamic they're in, the relationship of the household and everything else. So
the lifestyle, all that.
Right. The lifestyle, all that stuff. I think a lot of trainers in both camps get too tied up in like, well, this is my way. Well, this one's my way. It's like, yeah, but what works for that guy right there? Because even in the balance world, there are people who like, I meet dog trainers all the time. There's a guy who I've been telling Brent about. I need to reach back out. He wants to do some interning here. And there's a lot of like younger trainers who they love e-collar. It's the new thing. It's all over the internet. Like, you see proof, like you were talking about. Fuck all the nonsense. Show me. And you can see it. But now the issue becomes, they're such believers in e-collar that even if the client isn't really like about it, they're trying to push it. And I'm like, you guys don't understand.
I mean, everyone does that, trying to push the prong collar, trying to push
I get
trying
that,
to push the clicker. Like,
right. I get that. But the point being, if the client is clearly not having it, and trust me, I understand, like as the professional, it's kind of your job to like explain to them things. But if the client's just not feeling it, it's like, what's going to happen is you're going to train the dog on an e-collar.
And you become one-dimensional and you can't approach or help that client.
Well, not only that, but you send the dog home on an e-collar, client doesn't use the fucking e-collar, and then nothing changes anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
So what I found is that during consultation, let's say that a client is apprehensive about the prong and the e-collar, right? We'll go, okay, how about a slip leash, right? And they go, oh, okay, fine. And then what happens is when you build a rapport during the because we sell immersion programs, we don't do weekly sessions. I just do immersion programs, period. Yep. And so like once they're in the immersion 3 days in, they start to be like, what were you saying about these other tools?
Because they trust you. They're in your bubble now.
Because we've built rapport. So So the last seminar I taught was in Phoenix, and so like it sold out. It was awesome, and it was all for dog trainers. And what I did was I had them put why they're a dog trainer on a piece of paper, right? And anonymously, and I just read them off. And the ones that I liked, the ones that were heartfelt, I was like, this is awesome. And then there were some that were like, I like to see the relationship between client and dog.
The same bullshit.
And I was like, get your pitch the fuck out of here. Do you know whose seminar you're attending? The most
And no disrespect to people. Just that's a very cookie cutter. Like, I like relationships. Well, what part of it do you like?
It's a diplomatic answer. I get where they're coming from. It's safe. It's
it's a very safe answer. But what I did was I tried to push them out of being safe, right?
Of course.
And with that, it because we were building rapport, I got to open up my story of vulnerability. I told the story of the pity bitch, and they saw me cry because I cry every time because that shit hurts, right?
It still hurts, yeah.
So what have we done? We've built rapport, and then afterwards, we trained dogs, and because we had built the rapport, they were very open to me critiquing and correcting their body language. And then the wrap up of the seminar was this. What's the most important part about being able to be punished? Rapport and feeling safe. And so because I had put them through a psychological quick immersion program.
Now they understand the dog.
And they were like, oh my God, the relationship. I was like, yes, do not go to prong right away. Don't do that shit. Build a healthy relationship. Build a good relationship. Do all dogs out of my program go home on tools? Most of the time, yes, they do.
That's for maintenance though.
Yes. Why? Because my clients need them.
Right.
It's like training wheels. It's like you're a kid. You're learning how to ride this bike for the first time.
But every Saturday, and this is something that I encourage all of you trainers out there to do, is give your clients the olive branch of who've spent $2,000 to $3,000 with you, and give a free maintenance class on Saturdays. That's what I do.
Yep.
That's what I do.
I have an alumni course that I teach. Yep. And the whole goal of the alumni course is all these dogs have done board and train. The end of this class, all your dogs will be verbal recognition out in the real world.
And that's exactly it. And so my alumni class basically would be, we want to wean your dog off of these tools. Like, so like this is the long-term, because I want all my dogs to get off tools eventually. If the client chooses to keep their dog on tools, that's up to them. I don't have anything to do with that. I really don't. It's whatever they feel good with their dog's relationship, right? But my goal is to get the dogs off of tools, and that's why we do these free classes for people who bought into the program. So in Austin, we get 50, 60, 70 people sometimes in this huge like park downtown. We make a huge spectacle, and what ends up happening is people start watching. And they're like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, dog training company, this, that, and the other. And then they go, are they all on choke change? I say, no, they're prong collars. And they go, isn't that abusive? And then we're able to open more conversations. We're opening more conversations.
You're touching on something that I wanted to bring up next, which was that's making a spectacle. But aside from...
I am a spectacle.
But aside, that's going to be the quote that I put up for the I am a spectacle, Jonas Black. I like that.
People are going to fucking hate that.
No, I think that's sick. You should make a shirt out of that. I would wear that. Thank you for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers, for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
We really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you back for the next one. But in the meantime, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Dog Trainers Podcast. Go ahead and leave a comment. Ask us any questions that you want. We would love to connect with our dog trainer communities all around the world. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.